In this box is a MacBook I bought for $1 on eBay, plus shipping. And I don't even know if it works, but let's get into this box. It's been sitting in my room for over a year, waiting for this moment to be opened. What is this peculiar packaging? This looks like something a dress would be made out of. What the heck? 3 layers. Okay, here's the MacBook. And honestly, it's in much better condition than I thought it would be. No battery to be expected. And would you look at that? Removable RAM. Such a feature in a laptop made by Apple. It looks like this has 2 gigs of RAM, assuming the RAM sticks function. So it looks like someone was in here before because there's missing screws that are part of taking this laptop apart. Hopefully they didn't take it apart and realize they couldn't fix it and then put it back together and sell it to me for $1 on eBay. There's a surprising amount of screws to take out to get into this laptop. And if you're ever working on equipment, be sure to label where your screws go because it makes it 10 times easier when you go to put it back together. All right, so I've just released the keyboard cable and there's the inside of the MacBook. You can sure tell where the fan was. I find it very odd how parts of this MacBook are just so filthy, and then if you look over here, it looks like just a brand new, no dust. So this is supposed to be felt tape, but it's just gone to nothing. Now to remove the heatsink. Let's reveal that thermal paste. Oh my god, you see that cloud of dust? Absolutely filthy. What I'm going to do next is take out the fan. Next goes the optical drive. This isn't the optical drive, this is the hard drive, but we're going to take out the optical drive. And I did check, there's no CD in here. That would have been funny. And there we go. Finally, I got the logic board out. There's not very much dust that's worked its way here, but actually, I take that back. The camera obviously can see that, but from my angle, I didn't notice. It's time for me to give this Mac a little bit of a clean. Look at that dust. That's how it's actually supposed to look. And that's just the underside of the logic board. Theoretically, that's the cleanest part. And quite some time later, after a lot of rubbing and scrubbing with Q-tips and paper towels and vacuuming with the toothbrush, this laptop is now unrecognizable, at least on the inside. There's no absolute lines of filth. It looks quite good, actually. I'm pretty happy with it. I didn't intend for that to happen. After vacuuming up the I/O shield by accident, I cleaned the top and bottom of the logic board. I got it so much cleaner than it was, and I was very happy with it. And then it was time for the heatsink, which, yeah, there was a little bit of hair on that. I got all that hair vacuumed up. I cleaned the thermal paste off the heatsink and the crusty thermal paste on the motherboard. Yeah, the thermal paste wasn't doing anything for thermal conductivity. It was just dried up clay, basically. I also cleaned the fan. I got a lot of the dust out of it. It was very shiny by the end, but only after putting the laptop back together did I realize that this fan, you can actually take it apart, and it was just a clip that I didn't see. So yeah, I gave the CD drive a good clean, even though it wasn't that dirty, but the top case, now that was dirty. You could see where the fan was. That was the only visible dust, but there's a big difference from before and after. And that was pretty much everything to clean on the inside of the laptop. The next challenge is to put the laptop back together and hope that I don't damage anything or lose any of the screws. Getting this logic board in is definitely going to be the toughest part. Oh, I got it back in there. Yeah, if I break anything, it's going to be when I put this laptop back together, not when I was taking it apart. A little piece of plastic broke off, so I'm just going to apply a little bit of glue here, and then try and slot the piece back in. And now it's good as new. It's time for a thermal paste application. No. It came out of the tube faster than I would have thought. And then I had to refit the heatsink, put the optical drive back in, and then it was a matter of screwing in screws and connecting connectors, and then the laptop was back together. I did have a little bit of trouble putting the keyboard cable back in because that's kind of at an odd angle, but I managed it just fine. Easier than taking it out, actually. I even found some screws in my container of random screws that I've saved over the years to replace the missing ones in the battery compartment of the laptop that weren't there when I got it. And then once I had the laptop back together, for some reason, I don't know why, I thought it would be a good idea to take every single keycap off and clean under the keys. It was a 2-hour-long process that didn't gain me much of anything, but hey, at least the keyboard is cleaner now, and now the laptop is completely back together. I've just put in the last screw. Okay, the screws in the back were just too tight. it doesn't have that squeak anymore. I was worried for a second. It does have some minor imperfections and scratches, a little bit of blemishes that I couldn't quite get out. It's missing some plastic right here at the base of the laptop and on the screen bezel. It's even in better condition than this other laptop. Oh wait, another one? Well, this is actually my dad's laptop, and I'm going to use its battery. We'll be able to see if this laptop even works to begin with. And if it doesn't work, well, it'll just be a very clean, not working laptop. Let's slide that battery into place. Let's see. Ah, yes. The good old clean install. I need to restart my computer. Maybe I did break it. I figured out what's causing the problem, and that's whenever you try to join a Wi-Fi network after you enter your password and click connect, the laptop just gives up and tells you to shut it down. It kernel panics. So I did manage to get the machine set up in OS X Snow Leopard. Still no Wi-Fi connectivity, but Ethernet worked just fine. And as you may be able to tell by the sound of a small airplane taking off, I am installing OS 10.7 Lion on this external SSD, which I will then put inside this machine. All right, it looks like I can set up this Mac now. It's joining. It joined the network. And we're in. So it turns out this laptop doesn't have a bad airport card as I initially thought. It just needed a new operating system. And once everything was completely working, I installed the SSD and we were ready to go. Everything launches so much faster now, but in reality, once it opens the application, it's still equally as slow as a Core 2 Duo from 2007 would be. But hey, dual core used to be a big deal. It only has a 64 megabyte graphics card. 64 megabyte. Not very much, though we were able to play games like Air Attack. It's a pretty fun game, though it is kind of basic, but still very addicting even now. And it runs Braid great. Another game I played a lot as a child. You find little puzzle pieces and try to build a puzzle, and sometimes it's quite confusing, but not as much to me now, because when I actually played this game, I was anywhere from 6 to 10 years old, and about the best game this laptop can run in terms of graphics is Torchlight, released in 2009, a few years newer than this laptop, so it's the most you're going to expect from this 64 megabyte graphics chip. And you can tell it's working pretty hard, because when you're playing, this is what the fans sound like. It runs perfectly fine most of the time on lowered settings, but if you get a lot of monsters on screen, it's noticeably lowered in FPS. And then there's Minecraft, which would work, but I can't figure out how to get this launcher to run because the files it's looking for to download aren't hosted online anymore, and considering this is a MacBook from 2006 running an extremely outdated version of macOS, there's not very many people in this day and age trying to run Minecraft, so I couldn't find anything on the internet about how to get it working. I didn't know what to expect from a 16-year-old laptop webcam, but it is not very good. Whenever you're recording video, the fans spin, and this is the baseline level of noise you can expect from this laptop. The internal microphone picks up all the fan noise. Not to mention, after like 5 minutes of recording, the laptop just can't keep up, and this is an unedited clip. I was thinking, because I was using my M1 MacBook minor annoyances. Ironically, this is about the only part of that recording that wasn't all skippy. Yes, there are some minor graphical glitches. The laptop is thick for today's standards, but it allows it to have a much better keyboard than my M1 MacBook Pro. It has more travel, and it's very great to type on, but one thing that isn't better is the trackpad. And it has a built-in clicker because this is a pre-multi-touch trackpad, and there are no multi-touch gestures, and I literally can't live without that if I'm using a laptop these days. Web browsing is possible, although very slow, and on the outdated version of Safari, most websites don't load. Some do. Others, you have to go directly to the domain instead of searching it through Google for some reason. eilslap.com is one of these websites, and typing it in directly takes you right there. I remember thinking myself very funny going to this on the school computers and being like, look guys, I can slap a guy. I mean, this was when I was in like 4th grade. Funny, I know. Watching YouTube on this laptop is possible, although it's quite painful. Even scrolling to look at recommended, it lags a lot. And then when you click on the video, it sometimes loads pretty quickly. But one thing you're going to have to put up with is the extremely loud fans that are about half as loud as the actual video on the built-in speakers.
First class seat, a blimp, and so much more.
And of course, Apple speakers have gotten much better over time. This 16-year-old MacBook has terrible speakers compared to the M1 MacBook Pro. Here's a side-by-side. Then let's move over to the M1. A big difference, because this one sounds like rapey nonsense. And of course, the speakers in this iMac behind me blow the two away. That's because the speakers don't look like this. They're like the size of the laptop. The port selection on this MacBook is great. We've got Firewire 400, USB-A, MagSafe, of course. The new MacBooks have MagSafe now. They went back to it. But they don't have Ethernet, which this laptop does. I'm probably the only one that has this many USB-A things plugged in. But come on, at least one USB-A port on a new MacBook. And Ethernet. Oh, and we can't forget about the CD drive. Yes, it can burn CDs. If you guys even know what those are anymore. But now, they don't even put CD players in cars. So I was able to put some fire tunes on a CD. And yeah, that's only 700 megabytes. So these two Macs are the exact same, except for one thing. At least when they were new. You paid $200 more for the black color, and you only got 40 gigs of hard drive space in the exact same specs. So I think the design of this MacBook has aged very well, except for the fact that the plastic design cracks over time, and the cracks I talked about earlier in this video have gotten worse. At least on the top screen bezel. But apart from that, I do like the aesthetic. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe or you're bad. More videos just like this to come. And for the $1 a month channel members, this week's video is going to be playing Torchlight on this $1 MacBook. It was a fun video to make, a fun video to film, especially because I was reliving old memories from when I was a small child gaming on this white MacBook. Have a great day, everyone. Subscriber bad. A new video next week, Saturday, 8 a.m.